All right, everyone ready? Panel, we ready?
We're ready.
All right, so
ready.
folks, we'll just share microphones. You and I will share this mic, you two will share that mic so that we can ensure our voices are heard on the recording. Great. Everyone in the audience ready? Awesome. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Wave, please.
We're the panel.
Hi.
Thank you.
So thanks for joining, everybody. Very excited to talk today. So it is a Women in Tech panel. I have some questions through the lens of AI, like women in tech and AI. So very excited to dive in. I'm going to introduce myself, and then my first question to the panel is going to be to introduce yourself. But I'm Julianna. I am a director of engineering for an edtech company. It's called 2U. We've bought edX, if anyone's ever taken an online course. Unfortunately, 2U fought for years to be the company you never heard of, and so now they all of a sudden want their brand recognition, and that's not how brand recognition works. So I work for an edtech company. We do everything from free online education to graduate degrees at participating universities. I got into tech 10 years ago. I have a master's of theater, and so I was a theater artist for a decade in New York City, which was a glamorous life of finding furniture off the street and hustling and making art, and I felt so cool. And then I hit a point where I really wanted a career with, health insurance, but growth opportunities. And I actually was a video designer at the time, and a lighting designer for theater, and I met some artists who were writing C++ to create their digital installations. And I thought, oh, I want to do that. And then the spark connected. I was at that time in my life where I wanted a career, and I'm now learning how to code in order to do something cool, so I pivoted and went into software engineering. And then I got a master's in computer science because I'm an overachiever. So that's a little bit about my background. One of the sub-questions I'm going to ask is your journey into tech as well, as I sort of outlined. So an introduction, who you are, what you do, but how did you get here?
I took the throughway.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you can start. She started.
Go ahead, Liz.
So my name is Lis Hubert. Hi, everyone. I am a founding partner of a customer experience consulting group called CX by Design. And we are a women-owned company. My founding partner and I are both women. My journey in tech started, I got a information systems degree from the University of Connecticut. And then I did what everybody from the University of Connecticut does that has any sort of tech background, is I started working for an insurance company in Hartford. And I was a Java programmer. And so I actually started my career as an engineer and then realized that I was not the best engineer. Although I loved thinking like an engineer, I wasn't great at it. And then my journey took me into user and customer experience, which has allowed me to use my critical thinking skills and my problem solving skills and all of the engineering skills or information system skills that I had developed in my programming career with people. And now as CX by Design, what we do most is we ensure that all the code that you write and all the systems and awesome features that you create are actually meaningful to people and that people actually want them and will use them.
Thank you for sharing. Yulia, you want to go? I'll pass it up.
Sure. Hello, my name is Yulia, and now I am tech founder. Hello, another woman, another tech, another founder. This is good. So actually, very much similar thinking, because I was thinking technology is not good for me. I did like problem solving and troubleshooting all things, but I was never thinking about myself as a computer science engineer and such. I was trying to avoid it, and life was like kicking me back to technology. So what I learned, as women, we are really good in intersections, technology and something. Technology and entrepreneurship. So actually I'm trying to leverage this multifaceted attitude toward technology and toward people. That's what I do with OpenHub. I bring people together around technology, that's what we do today. And I really love to help people to learn and grow.
Well, hi everybody. My name is Deepa. I was told about this panel less than 24 hours, so it might be a little impromptu. If I'm looking at my phone, I'm just looking at the questions. No offense. So I got into tech about 15 years back. My story is totally different from any of these people here, wonderful ladies here. I come from a background of food and nutrition. I was whipping ice creams. I was doing research in South Dakota State, where I was able, trying to figure out how do we make a Activia kind of ice cream, right? So put in some strains, was doing in the lab for a while. Then I moved to California, not by choice, of course. I met my husband, so I got married and moved to California. I did not know what to do because Davis was very far, Berkeley was very far from where I was living. So my first encounter, I would say, with technology, we all have been encountering technology at some point of our lives, early as well. So my encounter was this, mobile phones, right? Back in 2007, those were the times that iPhones had come in, Androids have started coming in. My husband used to work for Palm, so I love those phones. But he designed those phones, but I was mainly a user for him, right? User testing, you can say that. So enjoyed these devices per se, then okay, let's see what do we do with this. So I went to a school where they taught me how to test these things. So I did not even know what was it. So did that, I think 4 months course or something like that. Then I was on an unpaid internship. Then I got paid later. And I get to work on different companies where I've contacted with Mozilla. If anybody has used Firefox OS? Yeah. Cool, I tested those devices. So Firefox OS, then I worked in Microsoft in the Windows Sustained Engineering team. I was a contractor there too, testing all the Windows updates. And later I went to AT&T, Apple, Google, whatnot. So everywhere I went in as I learned a lot from each and every job. Then I started enjoying, I was trying to find my place, let's put it this way, because coming from a food chemistry background, you say, right? I took me some time to understand that there's a 3 levels in every software. You have a presentation layer, you have a middle tier, and then you have a backend too, right? For me to get my things wired up, because I know that a lot of parents who would force their kids to go, my parents never did, thank God that they did not. So it was by will I did my food and nutrition, and it was situational stuff that I got into tech. And today where I am is because of what I wanted to learn. I learn from everybody. Even from this conference, when I speak to kids here, I see what I can learn from them too. It's not about you go tell what you know, but also it's a win-win to both of us. So networking is something that I've been doing for a while. Otherwise, I would not be in this place. So been in tech for a while, did a lot of stuff. Now currently taking a career break, trying to figure out. Trying to see what can I do on the entrepreneurship route, but it's very hard. I know that. It is a very hard, nobody understands when you say this, you have an idea. It's like, oh, why are you doing this? You've been doing this for so long, why do you want to take a break and try to do something? I want to try it. So that's something that I want to do, and I'm hoping to do it someday.
So hold on to the mic, because I'm going to pivot back to you. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your stories. One thing I noticed, the 3 of us have a sense of I think the way you phrased it, Yulia, was thinking it's not for me, and finding out it was for me, or finding your footing in what was for you. And it seems like you sort of had your footing to start and just found different ways.
Oh, no, I wanted to have work. If I wanted to go work for a company, I would just go. I just wanted to go. Then people just, at that time I didn't have a mentor or anybody who would say that, hey, you have to study these things or go back if you want to become a software engineer, you have to do this. All I was hearing is, you got to go back to school, get a degree.
Yeah.
And back 15 years back, you don't have Udemy. You don't have
Yeah,
Coursera. You don't
exactly.
have anything. And everything I've taught self-taught myself. So I would want to make I tried to make a transition to software engineering, but it was not happening. That's fine, but I still go build whatever I enjoy. I still go ahead and do it. Having said that, it was if you want something so desperate, you would go for it, right? So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that even if they don't give me an offer, or if I don't get it the first time, I would keep bugging. I would keep tapping the doors. I would not hesitate even a moment to say, I will keep trying. I'll try from my end. Whether the door opens or not, it's up to them, but I'll keep trying.
So it kind of leads me to my next question. Well, my next question was going to be, what do you feel your greatest strength is, and how has that helped you as a woman in tech? And so you've outlined some strengths in your responses. It seems like drive, the desire to learn, and like commitment.
It could also backfire you. I'll tell you that. If you're trying to be over ambitious, what others say, but for me it's not ambitious. It's something that I'm trying hard, and I still want to do it. So it can backfire you. It can say that, oh, you're going 2 different routes, or why are you trying this? Why are you testing this? I get this often. So it could be I don't see that as a negative thing, but still, when it comes as a judgment, I don't like it. I'll be very upfront on that.
Got it. Thank you. Greatest strength, and how has that impacted you in a positive way as a woman in tech?
I think my greatest strength is being a challenger, which gave me so much trouble in my life. Wherever I come, I challenge. I ask questions, and I ask questions in a way which sounds like challenging questions even to my professors and to my employers and to everyone. And that's how people feel judged. Sorry. I didn't realize it until I was in trouble each time. But actually, being a challenger is a good thing because first of all, it's a resilience. It's a lot of resilience. And second thing, it's out-of-box thinking because you're challenging status quo. It's always done this way. Excuse me, it shall be another way too. Let's look into this. And that's what some entrepreneurial perspective as well. And I think that's what we are sharing with Lis here because she's coming from user perspective. When company design something, it shall be this way, and then users are like, excuse me, we don't know how to use it and such. So actually the challenger, and it's my nickname, it's a lot of appearance out of this, which can be seen as a pusher, as the not comfortable person to work with, but out of the box thinking, I would say, innovation comes out of this as well.
I do want to hear from you, Lis. I'd also say with that being the challenger, you get things done. You accomplish things. Greatest strength.
Yeah, I think similarly, I'm an out-of-the-box thing. Similarly to all of us, I think one of my biggest strengths is grit and drive. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep trying. So persevere. I'm just going to. And then I also think, like many of us who are in tech or systems, I have an ability to see patterns very quickly. And I also can see, because of that, I can see where there are different pathways, out of the box thinking, right? Like right now, I'm a homeowner who is not married and doesn't have children, but my best friend and I both wanted to own a home in Hudson Valley and have an apartment in the city. He is a professor in Jersey. He lives at the apartment in New Jersey. I live at the house in Kingston. And we now are 2 single people without kids who are middle class and have 2 homes. That would be not achievable if I tried to do that in the traditional way. So I was able to see a pattern and then, do something different in my life. And then the third thing I think that for me is a greatest strength with tech is I genuinely care about people. And that has been very successful for me because I was listening to the discussion earlier about communication as competitive advantage. And one of the things that the speaker said was, what are businesses? And my first answer was people. Our businesses are nothing without people. All of the tech that we're designing and all the awesome features we're creating are nothing without customers. It just is not gonna, or without the people building them. So I genuinely care about and want to make a better place for all of us, and I think that has really helped me be successful.
I was gonna say my answer, very similar, again, thank you all for sharing, is making connections, building relationships. I think that is why I have the role that I have today. When I started a company, I make friends with everybody. I talk to everybody. I do not discriminate against role. You can be my friend. We can have coffee. And what winds up happening now, I've got a lot of allies at work. I have people in very different departments, which two things. One, if I need something done, or if I have a dependency on another team, and I just go knocking now on my friend's door, or my friend's Slack, and say, hey, what's up? How you doing? How's your kids? How's blah, blah, blah? I saw this ticket. Can you prioritize it? And we can get it through. I do the same for them as well. And also, it is a great way to get information, like just pass information about what's going on. You can stay, in the know. So I think that is also why my name, when I applied to be a director at my company, everyone went, oh yeah, well we know her. The entire panel, it was very weird to be interviewed by friends, people I had hung out with, done yoga classes with, been to their house for dinner. So I'd say building relationships and connecting with people. People skills for sure. So, given that this conference is through the lens of AI, I want to not pivot, but I want to bring up AI and ask, one of my next question that was planned is, how do we see AI impacting the future of women in tech, of underrepresented people in tech? And maybe that's good and maybe that's bad. But I'd love to hear some ways that we think that AI can make an impact. Yeah.
Can I speak?
I was just talking to her. You know what I was talking. So while I was last year, I had to resign my job, and I think when I was trying to apply for jobs back, I think it was during the beginning of the year, and I applied for a job, and then within 24 hours, I get an email saying that we are not going to be sponsoring you. We are not at this time. We are not sponsoring. But my resume says that I'm a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
So I don't know because if you try to apply for jobs these days, there is a checkbox that says that, oh, do you also agree to, AI taking a look? I don't do that because I'm not sure, because my name is not a regular name. It shows. And then it's totally judgmental, or whoever building these models are totally not taking into account as, the basic stuff, right? Why do I even want a sponsorship? Why do you assume, right? That's something that I have faced in the recent one. That could be also impacting women like me, right? A lot of women like me. And not only saying this out of, underrepresented one, even for a larger group as well, right? This is something that I faced very recently, that I could say that probably AI is for good, but these things should be still dealt by a human. You know what I mean? It's just, I want to make sure that at least somebody who even scans my resume for 3 seconds, if they can, please do. And or else don't even reply me back to an email saying that, oh, we are checking you out because we're not going to sponsor you. How do you make the judgment? So that's my take on this.
Yeah, that's a good story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and I think that what we were talking about, it was a great conversation, where we all know this as technologists, that AI is only as good as the data that feeds it. I'm going to age myself a little bit, but I was finally, after 20 years, I watched iRobot with Will Smith last night. And I'm like, wow, this is so relevant right now. I'm actually glad I waited to watch it until now, because in the film, right, everybody in the world is trusting these robots, but these robots are only as good as how they've been programmed. Yeah. And right now, so many people are trusting AI. I'm going to outsource my job applications to AI. Let AI take care of it. AI is going to make my life better. Well, AI is only as good as you're making it. And so AI is just as biased as the data that's getting put into that. So if our companies are not diverse, then our data sets are not going to be diverse. And if we outsource diversity to a data set that is not diverse, we continue to have a lack of diversity in the workplace. Right. So I think when we think about any underrepresented or represented population and how AI will impact it, it will be what is happening now, but on steroids.
Absolutely agreed, but I would put it in a different way. AI cannot create, at least right now. AI is dealing with what was there before, is dealing with the data which we produced, is dealing with the patterns, or just like using algorithms which we produced. And we only can put there, even if it will be self-learning going forward and such, still there is some creators modality which we wear and bear. Especially it's applicable, I don't know, is it fair to say? For women especially, but no. It takes two to tango, it takes two to continue your genes and such. So we are creators. Please don't forget about this, and we always will find the way, our way to create. The issue about current status quo of AI is dealing with the patterns, and I would say the clusterized, very common patterns, not unique ones, and the data. And we're talking about data which is like mostly produced by majority of media, majority of streams and such. So again, we're getting judged by what we produced, but there were so many people silent or not sharing it like in a public face. Make sense?
Yeah, I think about the ways, you know, your story resonates with me, having applied for jobs and immediately getting denied, like within 30 seconds.
Yeah, 24 hours. The next day morning I got
Yeah,
an email.
and I'm thinking, no one looked at this. No one looked at this, but there's a gaming of the system happening where people are putting invisible, you know, they're hiding text on the bottom of resumes to say like AI, ChatGPT, like I've all these, so that the bot will go through and find them, or they're just writing, you know, things that they haven't done in their work history. But it's very telling, you know, when I think about how quickly I'm judged, I guess, based off of the work that I've done, right? So the opportunity there is we have to be cognizant that that can be used as a negative and try and like fix or coerce it into being more, because I do see a benefit in AI helping, okay, I am not a human that's going to read resumes, I'm going to let my bot do it, but my bot is going to just look at work experience and not a name and come back with, you know, this person's probably this gender or sex or et cetera. And I go, right, I have these 12 candidates who have done these fantastic things. These are the people I want to move forward with. And now you've removed any biases from.
Do you know the irony of the same thing? I applied for it, but then I connected with the recruiter.
And that was.
And at least I got a call.
Yeah.
This was a different job title per se, so I did get a call.
Yeah.
So I would admit that.
And that goes back to relationships.
Yeah.
And building relationships. Yeah. Thank you all. Did everyone have, we've all said what we wanted to say on that topic, because I want to open it up now, because I do want to hear from the audience as well. And so one of the things that I did in my homework before this was thinking about challenges and thinking about challenges in the workforce. And I asked ChatGPT and Google AI so that I could kind of compare and contrast the answers. But I asked both ChatGPT and Google AI a series of questions. And the first question I asked was, what are the challenges that women are facing currently in the tech industry? And very responses that I either have experienced or could predict: pay disparity, gender bias, lack of opportunity, lack of mentorship, gender bias in hiring, but also toxic work culture came up. And so then I asked both bots, you know, what are the biggest challenges that men face in tech? And 4 out of the 6 answers were like toxic work culture, bro culture, adhering to like having to fit in this box that we have likely experienced as well. And so my question is, how can we, as women, and how can men create a better work culture? I thought immediately of the saying, a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So how can we, I'll start with the panel first, how can we empower others, or what can we do as women to rise that tide, to sort of ensure that we've got male allies, ensure that we've, are looking after other underrepresented folks? What can we do in tech to address some of the broader toxic bro culture issues that are clearly impacting everyone?
I am going to reference the talk again that I saw earlier today, the communication as competition, or I'm messing that up, where the speaker really encouraged everybody in the audience to look at themselves and to introspect. And as a female in tech who's also a business owner, who meets with the head of technology teams and the CEOs of companies all the time, a conscious decision I've been making is investigating how I bring myself into the workplace. We were talking earlier, like, how many times have I said, I'm sorry in this meeting? Don't do that. And so I think one of the ways that I encourage everybody, however you identify, with any gender you identify or none, is if you want a better work environment for yourself, look at how you bring yourself into that work environment. That's not going to stop the challenges from happening. But as an example, by investigating my own responses, my own perceptions, I really started to change my actions and make different choices. Whereas, I'll give an example with a client. They're a $multi-million company that makes luxury audio equipment. And I went from meeting with the CEO as the CX person who meets with the CEO to, I can't make this decision without Liz's input because she's an expert. And I did that not by getting an extra degree, not by acting like a man or not. I did that by just speaking logically, coherently, realistically, firmly, confidently, boldly, and not caring if people saw me one way or the other, and not caring how that would come across, whether I was a woman or not. And so I think channeling what we're talking about with relationship building and communication, and also having confidence and boldness and assertiveness and being proud of that and owning that and walking around like the badass person you are, however you identify, is a big step that we can all take.
I'm going to come up and give you a microphone. I'm ready for audience participation, but it can't be heard on the recording if I don't give you.
And your voice matters.
Yeah, thank you. So from a standpoint of, I just wanted to ask, being that you are in a big leadership role, like, what do you, for a woman in one of those, minority areas, what is some advice that you can give me so that I can grow in leadership and being bold and being some of those things, because a lot of times you don't want to, you do want to show your skills but you don't want to overshine or depending on your workspace. So just how can you go from one place, like being that strong speaker and advocating for yourself into these leadership roles? That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I will say one thing, overshine. Please overshine. Go ahead.
No, are you done? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, the moment I heard you say and not overshine, no, please overshine. That I pat myself on the back. I'll say this. I told my boss 5 or 6 years ago, I've been at my company 7 years, and in the second year I worked there, I decided that for my end of year review, I was going to select significantly surpasses expectations, whether I believed I did or I didn't, because I have to handle more being the only woman engineer on the team, and he would agree with me 9 times out of 10. And there was one time where I was like, no, I still think I did. I still think, so, and it was a big thing. It is a big thing that women, we downplay ourselves and say like, well, I met expectations.
If you want to
I'll come up, but go ahead. You were going to respond, Liz.
Yeah, but I think part of what Yulia's where you're going with that invitation is part of what you're saying, Juliana, and what we're all nodding our head to, which is, I think one of the biggest things to keep in mind is you need to make yourself uncomfortable before you can make yourself comfortable. And one of the things for me personally, it sounds like this would resonate with you and maybe many of the other people in the audience, that was uncomfortable was overshining. And that came from a lot. That came from the beliefs that I had created about myself based on all of the messages I was getting from the world around me. But it also came from my compliance with that, right? So one of the biggest steps to take is to make yourself, when we talk about overshining, that's going to feel uncomfortable. So I would say learn to embrace that discomfort until it becomes like right? The nature, and it becomes like the stair or the escalator that starts to propel you upward. Another thing that I'm thinking about is I do a lot of self-talk, both internally but also externally in the mirror, being bold, like, no, I don't like that. That's not okay with me. And that felt, for me as a female who's used to being like, oh, that's gotta be a good little girl, that started to really help me to curate that skill set. So I think some of my advice is really to then, who was saying it? Who was saying practice? Maybe it was the speaker. I'm in love with the speaker. I have to meet her apparently. But the speaker previously who said everything comes with practice. And so continually practice getting into that uncomfortable space in a safe way until it becomes like second nature, like you were saying.
Yeah, I was about to add on to that. You know, coming, like I told my background, right? I was from food and nutrition. Constantly I was told that, oh, you don't know. But then at some point of time, I was like, okay, I lack the skill. One, you have to admit it. And then how do you also fill that skill? And how do you also get up to the level, right? Whoever you're working with. And how do you outperform, or how do you shine around them as well, right? So that's something that I take it very seriously. If somebody, even if I sense that thing around my space, I will be quiet, but at the same time, like what did she, I go tell myself, every single time, I always tell myself I'm the best in whatever you do, right? It can be anything. So it took me a while to get to that point, and then I had to put my foot down, and there are times that I've said, I've told my manager saying that, it's like, after I left the job and we kind of had a coffee conversation, did you find somebody? He's like, you know what? I'm not able to find a person. Yeah, it's like good people are already taken. So you have to, it's like, you have to tell them, and they don't know until you leave as well. As long as, I still keep in good touch with those people. However, it's just that, you have to communicate. You're not overshining. You have to tell yourself you are overshining. If you feel that you are overshining, then you're really doing a great job. So don't shut yourself on that. So that would be my take on it.
Oh, really quick. Find your strength. Find something. Just one thing you can be proud of. And start from there. Good girl, I've done this. Say it to yourself. Say it to others. Start talking about yourself like in a good manner. Be proud of yourself. Then everything follows.
I'm going back to the original question you asked about how we could do better. And I think the most important part to acknowledge is that we wait too long. Because I'm a student right now.
True.
And
we appreciate others. Too.
And it's like we're waiting until the workforce to acknowledge it, but why aren't we acknowledging it when we're students? And I hold like leadership positions on campus. I'm a junior now, and it's freshman year till now. And I think the biggest thing I learned is like, though it's predominantly male, I don't hold back in what I think, and I just say what's on my mind, because then it sets the standard for both of us, regardless of like how you identify, is like, we all have a voice and you should use it and you shouldn't be fearful. So I think the part to answer the question is that we have to acknowledge it internally, going back to what you said, and then act on it. Because you can acknowledge it and identify it in communities or in the space you surround yourself with, but acting on it and speaking on it are two different things. And I think we wait too long, especially like, though we wait until the workforce and we realize it, why don't we do it now as students and speak on it?
Why, in your opinion, as a leader and as a role model, in your experience, why do you think we wait too long? What do you think that is?
So I think I hear from other female leaders sometimes that, or actually like in group projects, their voice isn't as valued as other team members, especially because they're the only female in that engineering project. And it's like, you can tell me that and I understand the discomfort, but why aren't you doing anything to change that? Because then they would turn around like and complain about it, and not like invalidating how they feel in any way, because it's totally understandable, but if you just turn around and talk about it rather than facing it, confronting it, and speaking up for yourself, no change is going to be made. So I think that's why, sorry, I just went on a whole spiel, but I think that's why like it's important to just act on it rather than just speaking on it in general. Do not apologize. Yes. Thank you. I forgot about that part. Yes. But I also think it's just, if we act early on, also I feel like, okay, this is another like side point, but my dad's also like a software developer, and when he talks about his projects, he only speaks about their skill set, regardless of how they identify, and he's been that internal voice for me that like you need to be confident and you need to speak up for yourself, because I guess he understands and identifies like the problems and challenges that women can face. So I think acting on it, speaking on it, and having a positive internal voice is really important, and we should do it early on and not wait until, you know, we reach that like entry position or senior position to act on it.
And let's me
That was really long.
again. Sorry, one more sorry detected.
Thank you for listening.
Before you start, can I say just one thing? As a challenger, my role would be challenge everything what was said, and it's like, I'm not good, and I'm not stepping forward. I'm not quick enough. I'm not reacting immediately. I have to be bold. I'm not bold enough. Excuse me, shall we? Maybe it's our strength. Maybe it's good to be fluent. Maybe it's good to be nurturing. Maybe it's good to be polite. Maybe it's good to be customer-oriented and just putting all your compassion towards other people, and that's your strength. Just talk about this. This is different perspective. You don't need to be like them, others. It doesn't matter. Am I talking about sex right now? Am I talking or gender? Am I talking about age? Doesn't matter. You're unique.
I just want to add something to this, because as my experience as a professor at RPI, I'm pretty good with men and women, and I treat everybody equally. But out of the conversation that we had today, I realized that as a man, I could actually do more to change the culture, so that treat women equally as men, because technically, if I can do it, you can do it. If you can do it, I can do it. There's no distinction. However, maybe it was something that you said, Julianna, earlier, that, well, you could actually take it a step further, and I can start championing women more. And, as a, white male, a white old guy, that would actually deliver something. As a leader in a classroom with 50, 60 students, I can actually start elevating women more, not as a pandering, but just to really empower everybody and set myself as a model for what other men can do in our industry.
Can I add on to that?
Oh, sure. I was going to say the story that I told that we were talking about, I think you're referring to the story that I told where I was on a team where there was a woman project manager and a man project manager, and the director, the lead of my team at the time, pulled out a project plan from the printer and said, "Oh, this is fantastic. Ronnie, did you do this?" And he went, "No, Cheryl did it." And he just went, "Ow," and walked away and never turned to Cheryl, who was right there, and said, Great job, Cheryl. And I thought immediately, I looked right at Ronnie because I was like, no, Ronnie, this is where you, as he's walking away, say, you should thank Cheryl. You know, be an upstander. Somebody, yes. Deepa,
No,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to tell John something that, you know, if you really want to be a part of it, you could always join Women Tech Makers. It's also for everybody. It's not for women alone. So that would help a lot in this allyship and bringing everybody together in tech.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm not at all sorry. What is your name? Celine. And to partly to Celine's point, I think in that story, that's a very, very important story. And Ronnie could and should have spoken up. But Cheryl also,
Yeah.
or her name is Cheryl,
Yeah, Cheryl.
should have also spoken up. What about me?
Oh, 100%. I could have
Yeah.
spoken up.
Right.
Right, but to your point, we wait, and I was like, I'm waiting for somebody else to
Right.
help me out here.
And that-
Now, 7 years in, I think that was I was in my first year working there. Now I would have been like, thanks, Cheryl. You know? But yes, exactly. I had other questions, but we're already 4 minutes over, and I was told I have a hard stop at 2:55.